We live in cultures seemingly dominated by powerful female figures, but within the two largest democratic nations standing today, the United States and India, there stands a powerful and unwavering misogynistic practice, the lack of prosecution among sexual assaulters. The Mathura rape case of 1972 is a perfect example of the lack of rights Indian women had, and the lack of responsibility taken for sexual assault by law enforcement.
लाइट बंद कर दिया, वैसे हमने चिल्ला के उठ के बोले तुम लाइट भी क्यों बंद कर दिया। हम दोनों भी लोग थाने में घुस गए। घुसने के बाद मैंने आवाज मारे, मथुरा तू कहाँ है, मथुरा तू कहाँ है, मथुरा तू कहाँ है।
She was silent in the back. She'd been raped and ordered by her rapist to keep quiet or go to jail. After it was over, she ran out crying.
हमने बोला भाई तुम पुलिस वाले रहने के बाद बयान के लिए आए और तुमने ऐसा कुकर नहीं किया, ये तुम्हारा बराबर नहीं, ये तुमने बरोबर नहीं किया, ये अन्याय किया तुमने, तुम रक्षक नहीं हो, वैसा तो तुमने रक्षा करना चाहिए, लेकिन तुमने भक्षा कर दी, तुमने कायदे का भंग किए, हमारे पक्का वादा है करके हमने बोला उसको, हमने उनको वार्निंग दिया। तो ठीक है बोले, तुमसे जो बनता तुम कर लो बोले, हमने कुछ नहीं किया बोले।
Although Mathura's case did make trial, the verdict changed 3 times till one was decided. As Frontline India reports, a Sessions judge held that since she had earlier eloped with her boyfriend, she must have been habituated to sex and hence could not be raped. The High Court reversed the judgment, sentencing the policeman to 6 years in prison. In 1979, the Supreme Court again reversed the order. The judges felt that since Mathura had not raised any alarm, and since there were no visible injury marks on her body, she must have given her consent.
The biggest problems that girls and women face in this country is some men think of some women and some girls as not quite human, as things.
Almost a fourth of all Indian men have sexually abused their wives. 1/5 of Indian men have forced sex upon their wives. 2/3 believe that violently disciplining women is morally correct and just. Compared to the rest of the world, these rates are 20 to 30 times higher than other countries that were surveyed. But what do all these facts lead up to? This information leads to India being the most unsafe country for women.
We want is the certainty of justice, quick justice, not allow a case to prolong for the next 2 decades when the young woman, her entire life is ruined in the process because she has to give up on the case or she has to give up on moving on in her personal life.
India, wake up! We have to ask, what is being done to end the rape culture of India and to call attention to the flaws of this system? Advertisements show Indian goddesses receiving abuse that most women get, and another shows Google searches that have perpetuated sexism in India. This TV ad features what India would be like if men could see how they acted.
देखते हुए कैसा दिखता है, देख ले तू देखते हुए कैसा दिखता है, देख ले देख ले देख ले देख ले देख ले तू देखते हुए कैसा दिखता है, देख ले। देख ले तू
Thanks to these advertisements, it can be seen that India has come a long way since the times of Mathura. But how much has actually been changed? An amendment among criminal law of the Indian Penal Code changes the punishment for attempt of disrobing a woman, sexual harassment, voyeurism, and stalking. This amendment happened because of Mathura speaking out, becoming a figure of strength for India. Even so, this amendment does not change much. Mathura was the victim of police corruption and lacking the right to put her rapists in jail, even with many witnesses having seen the crime. India still has a long way to go to give women the right to fully prosecute their sexual assaulters and for the country to take responsibility for the need to end rape culture. India has to shake off the flaws that led to Mathura not getting the justice she deserved. Now that we have covered problems from India's past that affect their rights and responsibilities, how does this relate to the United States? Well, here in the United States, we have our very own problem surrounding the rights and responsibilities of sexual assault, rape in the U.S. military. Throughout history, rape has been used as a tactic to dehumanize the enemy during times of war. But now, sexual assault seems to be a fact of being a female soldier in the U.S. military. Elizabeth Lyman is only 25 years old when she says she was raped by a fellow soldier after inviting him to hang out in her room. After her alleged rape, the police she called found blood of the attacker in her bed and she took a positive rape kit. 6 months later, during her trial, the rape kit was thrown out and it was asserted that Lyman had consensual sex that night. Of 19,000 sexual assaults, only 13.5% were reported. 1 out of 3 convicted military sex offenders stay in the military. And 90% of women who report rape get discharged.
By April, I was drugged and raped for the first time.
I had like a cold or pneumonia-like symptoms, and so they sent me to get checked out. And while I was waiting to be examined, he came in and he helped himself.
He said he was going to the bathroom, and he came into my room, and that's when he raped me.
The entire time I was screaming and yelling for help and for him to stop. Nobody came to the door, nobody came to help me, came to my rescue or anything.
Clearly, Elizabeth Lyman is not the only victim of military rape. Much like Mathura's case in 1972, Lyman was a victim to those who are meant to be protectors. Comparing India, a developing country in the 70s, to the current United States, it can be seen that a lot needs to change when it comes to women's rights. It is estimated that 50% of women who suffer from sexual harassment in the military don't report it for fear that nothing will be done. A study in 2011 reports that out of the 1.2 billion people in India, 83,425 rapes were reported that year. 62% of victims in the military who reported their sexual harassment got retaliation for their reports. These statistics show a grim future for those two nations, but it is possible to learn from the mistakes in Mathura's trial, the mistake of having corrupt officers in official positions. History can be learned from, and the battle for women's rights to justice won't stop until the Indian and American governments take responsibility for putting rapists behind bars. It is said that if Mathura's rape had happened in present times, her rapists would have spent at least 10 years in jail. If a developing nation like India can state that, how does the United States First World military discharge only 2/3 of its proven rapists? These are the things that need to be thought about when we consider the rights and responsibilities of women in India and the United States.